Embassies, Parliament Hill, Lake Burley-Griffin, what do they all have in common? They're all in Canberra. And what does Canberra also have? It has a light rail network. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about this partially new network from Gungahlin Place to the city centre. 14 stops. This network is quite unique in its own different ways, and let's just go straight into this video. Located in the Australian Capital Territory, Canberra is the capital city of Australia, and being a city with less than 500,000 people living in it, its public transport system is pretty bad. The existing network, or named R1, runs from Gungahlin Place to Alinga Street, with 14 stops in between, those being Manning Clark North, Mapleton Avenue, Nullarbor Avenue, Royal Station Drive, Stamford Street, Epic and Racecourse, Phillip Avenue, Swindon Street, Dickson Interchange, MacArthur Avenue, Ipima Street, Elora Street, and Alinga Street. I'm sorry if I mispronounced any of those stops. The whole route basically runs in the median of Northbourne Avenue, Remembrance Drive, and Flemington Road. The 12-kilometre line takes around 24 minutes to complete the full journey, and services usually run every 5 minutes in peak, except for afternoon peak, which runs every 6 minutes, every 10 minutes during inter-peak times, and every 15 minutes at night and Saturdays and Sundays. The history of light rail in Canberra is really unique. That's because of the way Canberra was first planned out in Burley Griffin's first plan in 1913. This was also when light rail in Canberra was actually first proposed, which was before Canberra was even built. And before then, there were actually no trains, or railways I should say, in Canberra except for the one railway station, which is literally called Canberra Railway Station, which opened in 1914. This also has a really unique history about Canberra's heavy rail history, but that is more or less another story for another video. Only up until the 1990s is when finally the state government actually proposed a tram running from Canberra Racecourse to Civic, which that section is actually being utilised right now. And in the same year, an 8-year-old Canberran proposed the idea for a tram to connect Gungahlin, back then a brand new undeveloped town centre, to the rest of the city. And in October of the same year, developers actually used this kid's idea and drew up a lot of plans for a more transit-oriented Gungahlin town centre. 2 years later, in 1994, the ACT government commissioned a study into light rail, which was basically just to report back on the government to see if light rail was viable in Canberra. Some of the foreseen routes were Belconnen to Barton via the city and Kings Avenue Bridge, Woden to Barton, Tuggeranong to Woden, and Gungahlin to the city. Routes to Canberra Airport and Pigeon received a lower priority listing, but in 1995, when the Liberal Party was elected, they completely dropped any plans for any light rail system in Canberra. But in 1998, the ACT government announced a line between the National Museum of Australia via Civic to the Australian War Memorial, though this route would have used more heritage trams rather than modern day trams. In September of 2001, Canberra actually finally got their tram, which was a 50-metre track outside the Australian War Memorial, and they had Melbourne's W-class trams and Sydney's R1 class trams to try and get support for the project between the War Memorial and the National Museum of Australia. In 2012, the ACT government submitted to Infrastructure Australia that bus rapid transit, or BRT, had roughly twice the benefit cost ratio of light rail transit. However, the government decided on light rail because apparently light rail transit has higher social benefits and better overall outcome. In 2015, the route between Civic and Gungahlin Place was finally picked as well as other proposed lines/extensions. In 2016, the construction finally commenced, until finally testing began in June 2018, and finally on the 20th of April 2019, the line finally opened, with a final construction cost of $675 million, $32 million under the original budget. Canberra operates 14 CAF Urbos 3s, similar to the ones delivered in Newcastle and Sydney, as well as the newly opened Parliamentary Light Rail. These trams are around 33 meters long and consist of 5 modules. They run on standard gauge and operate under 600 volt DC overhead catenary. Now, moving on to the future of this network. Canberra has a very big future in light rail, and many extensions and projects are well under planning stages or right now being constructed. Right now, under construction is Light Rail Stage 2A, which will connect the light rail system from Alinga Street to Commonwealth Park. The 1.7 kilometre extension will run along London Circuit West. It will feature stops at Edinburgh Avenue and City South. This will be an important connection in future when more stages, which I will talk about in a little bit, will commence. Parts of Stage 2A will contain green track, which is a type of railway track in making areas around railways more appealing. More simply, it just makes the place more greener. And it also has many positive effects like noise reduction, rainwater runoff mitigation. It also decreases the temperature in urban areas because there simply isn't as much concrete or asphalt. Another key point which makes this network kind of more like Newcastle's or Parramatta's network is the new batteries, which will be retrofitted into the existing light rail fleet, enabling a wire-free travel between Alinga Street and Commonwealth Park. Stage 2B, however, has a little bit of a different story. Stage 2B doesn't actually have a set route in place, though this is the proposed route that Stage 2B to Woden will go through. The proposed route will be around 11 kilometers long, and continuing from Stage 2A from Commonwealth Park, the light rail will cross Lake Burley-Griffin and will likely keep going along Commonwealth Avenue until it reaches State Circle, which then it will do a nice big 3/4 loop around Parliament House until Adelaide Avenue, where it continues all the way through the median of Yarra Glen and Melrose Drive until terminating at Woden Interchange. Now I'm just going to go through the projects that don't really have as much information as Stage 2A and 2B, but the most highest prioritized in this list is the Parliamentary Triangle, which will connect the city to Russell, the Parliamentary Zone, and Russell to the Parliamentary Zone. This will create a triangle, and loop-like services will begin to run, just like Melbourne. Additions to the Parliamentary Triangle will be the Eastern connections, which will connect Fyshwick and Canberra Airport. Some others are Tuggeranong to Woden via the Athlone Corridor, Belconnen to the city, running via Southern Cross Drive and Barry Drive, Molonglo to City, which will connect Woden to Molonglo via Hindmarsh Drive, John Gorton Drive and Parks Way, creating a nice big loop between Woden, Molonglo Valley and the city. This is all from a master plan created in 2015 by the ACT government for a city-wide light rail network that could be built over 25 years. Meaning in 2040, Canberra will have a light rail network like no other city in Australia. And since Canberra doesn't have a heavy rail system, this is perfect for a small city like Canberra. Before I end off today though, I'd like to thank Tsets Transport and Sydney Train Vlogs for their amazing footage that's been played all over this video. And if you have any suggestions for me to make a video like this on, please comment them in the comment section down below. And thank you guys for watching the full video, and I hope I will see you guys soon. Bye!